Hello everyone, my name is Kane King and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I tell interesting or scary stories and I'm so tired of saying this because oh no, I need something new to say. If you like this kind of content and you have stuff you'd like to share of your own, please do submit it. There are links down below where you can submit these things, even a Reddit page. It's fun, you get credited anyway, so you know.
The enthusiasm resonating from you right now is just so inspiring, man.
Listen, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I'm one chimkin and I want to go sleep.
Fair enough.
Anyway, enjoy the video. This story may need a little context. Here are a few key things to keep in mind. 1. I was raised by my grandparents. 2. I only saw my mother off and on. 3. She has a large number of sisters. 4. It is not uncommon for me to mistake nieces and nephews with aunts and uncles. Number 5. Yes, my mom's mom and my mom had kids at the same time and I rarely saw them, so I get confused sometimes. With all that out the way, let's dive in. I was about 15 at the time and my mother was having a large family gathering at her house. I was invited because while my mother and I weren't close, she had recovered from drug use for 2 or 3 years and was making a solid effort to turn her life around. Several of my aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces and nephews would be there, and at this point my grandparents were pretty confident my mother was actually trying really hard to establish a relationship with me. We weren't the best of friends, but I also didn't hate her either. I get there and it is blatantly a fantastic time. The younger of us played in water slides, went on 4-wheeler rides, had ice cream from an ice cream truck, and we were all tired by the end of day 1. Then night comes. My mom put on The Outsiders for us to watch, while we were all going to bed, because I think any sane human knows trying to get 10 plus teenagers on bed on time is a wasted effort. I was exhausted, but unfortunately I had battled badly with insomnia my entire life. It was 2:30 a.m. and everyone else was asleep. Someone knocks on my door to the room we are staying in. I'm a little aggressive at this point, saying something along the lines, "It's 2 a.m. What?" And the voice using a bad redneck accent responds saying, "It's your Uncle Mike. Grab a knife in the kitchen." I was kind of in a jolt of thought about that, because I did have an Uncle Mike in the house at that time. But he was actually a redneck. This was almost as if someone was held at gunpoint and told they had to do a redneck accent, but physically weren't able to. They were also sounding like they were choking on every word. So I simply decided I wasn't going to do that. "No, it's 2 a.m. I'm not grabbing a knife from the kitchen, Mikey." I had never called my uncle that, but for some reason the fear made me speak out of sync with my thoughts a bit. "But we made cake for everyone. You have to get a knife from the kitchen." Hell no, I thought. Mike couldn't cook anything other than bacon, hamburgers and steaks. I opened the door and rushed into my oldest cousin's room. He was sleeping on a bed in a tent. Inside, Mr. Lonely was playing with a blue room light on. I locked the door behind me and slept with my cousin, who was in their 20s and he was rough and around the edges. I slept in that room that night, only to wake up to accusations. My aunt, the one married to Mike, asked why I was banging on her door all night. I told her I wasn't. She said that apparently a similar time that I went into my cousin's room, I banged on her door and she got dressed to open it. The door to my cousin's room was open, the lights were off and no music was playing in the room, but no one was in there. When I told her my version of the story, she said it was impossible because Mike left for work around 7:30 to be at work around 8 p.m. and wouldn't be back until 4 a.m. My older cousin who I slept with also had a different version of the story, saying he woke up to no one in the room, but his door open and him looking down the hallway to every door in the hallway being open. He shrugged it off and went back to bed after locking his door. He had no explanation for how I got in his room without jimmying the door open. After some conversation, my oldest cousin whipped out a cell phone and started begrudgingly asking questions. When we heard nothing, we listened to the video, and a clear as day voice can be heard speaking, saying, "My name is Mike, I am here." It sounded choking, but without a bad southern accent. Afterwards my family decided it was a weird night and didn't bring it up again, except in joking ways. Because what are you going to do about it? My mom and aunt are very spiritual, but I'm a skeptic. I just thought I'd tell my version of the events. And yeah, my whole family thought it was weird, that I heard a voice at the other side of the door, and when I opened it, no one was there, and I never even thought about the aspect as a scared teen. Several years ago, my family went on a long weekend trip to Gettysburg. We live about 2.5 hours away, and obviously we had some spots we wanted to check out that people say are good for ghost activity. Late one night, like 11 p.m., we decided to check out the covered bridge that everyone talks about on the advice of a family friend who had experience there. Turned out half the other tourists also had the same idea, so we ended up leaving before we got out of the car because it was packed. On the way back, we drove on the roads that go across the battlefields to get back to the downtown area, and quite suddenly, the radio volume not only turned up on its own, my dad threw his hands in the air when that happened to show he wasn't doing it, but we heard nothing but static, the sound of a man screaming, and rhythmic pops that to me sounded like recordings of cannon or gunfire, or something similar. As we drove away, the volume went back down, and when my dad went to turn the dial back up, it was back to the regular local radio station we had. Keep in mind, it is pitch black out there at night. No streetlights, no other cars. Too far from town for that light to do much. The next morning we drove back over there, and in daylight we saw that where the incident happened was a building that had a sign outside that marked it as Civil War Hospital location. I know from my copious hours of watching paranormal TV shows that most professionals in that space would categorize this as a residual haunting. I'm not sure my stance of the idea of ghosts and hauntings, but this is something that I can't explain, and is still with me. A couple years ago, during COVID-19, my brother had to be brought to the hospital as he had almost OD'd on drugs. This meant that I was completely and utterly alone in the house. It was around 2, maybe 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and they had been gone for a couple of hours, most likely running tests on my brother's blood levels. I don't know medical science. Anyway, I was upstairs in my bedroom when all of a sudden I got this rather eerie feeling, yet I couldn't place it. So I checked the house just out of, I guess, boredom. Anyway, the house turns out to be completely empty, apart from me and my pets. So I go upstairs and laugh it off as a moment of madness. Only seconds after that, I heard the loudest and yet as I can only describe as blood-curdling scream anybody could ever hear. In fact, it sounded so impossibly loud that I can't imagine being humanly possible. The worst about the scream is that it was my mother's voice screaming my name so naturally. I rushed downstairs fearing the worst, only to find in complete shock and terror that the house was completely empty. I was rightfully terrified, so immediately I ran outside of the house and checked to see if any of my neighbors had heard the terrifying scream. Only I got puzzled looks. This had actually freaked me out ever since it happened. I would just like to know what was impersonating my mother and why.
It comes and goes. Sometimes it's quiet for a long period of time, months go by and nothing happens. And then as soon as we think it could be gone for good, something happens again. It's back again. Whatever it is, it's definitely presenting itself more often. Whether it be moving chairs, knocking on doors, or slamming them closed, footsteps, voices, and even thinking we see something in our peripheral vision, it's noticeably back. And since we've lived in these experiences for over 10 years, it still gives us an uneasy feeling. My younger sister, who's 22 years old, was usually the target. She became severely depressed, anxious, and reserved, but now I'm scared it's me. My mental health has been pretty good over the last year with great improvement, but suddenly I feel like the life is being sucked out of me since these occurrences have started up again. We have had our houses over the years blessed 2 times. We sage the house every now and then, but whatever is lurking always seems to come back. They're present in our nightmares and dreams. It follows us when we leave the house. I just don't really know what to do with it, as it comes and goes as it pleases. So far, nothing violent has happened, and sometimes people in my family have seen apparitions that don't give off a bad energy. So I'm wondering if there are multiple spirits with us. We are a family with close ties to the spiritual realm, with our ancestors carrying the gift of feeling and seeing these entities. I'm just worried that whatever is with us right now is bad, because it certainly does not feel good. Context: I'm a male. This takes place when I was around 12 years old and is probably the most terrifying night of my entire life. My name is James. My friend is called Jesse. He's around 4 months older than me, but that's unimportant. It was the year 2016, summer vacation had just started, and I was living my best life on Fallout 4. Jesse's distant grandma, that he actually never met, had passed away the week before, and so his parents were out of town. My mom said he could stay with us while his parents sorted things out in their hometown. Jesse was staying in my room with me, which we loved. We had been the best of friends for as long as I can remember, and we still are. So, as all teens or preteens do, we were intent on sleeping as little as possible each and every night. One night we decided we were going to sneak out. Not for only malicious purposes. For some reason we just liked the thrill of knowing that we had been wandering around my block while my parents were asleep and didn't know we were out. My parents were usually too preoccupied with my older brother and sister. It was probably 1, maybe 2 a.m. when Jesse and I finally got out. We went to the local park and just chilled there for a little while. That's when we heard something that still sends shivers down my spine whenever I think of it. A woman's scream, and it didn't sound like it was that far away from where we were. Immediately I regretted sneaking out and thought we should run back home, but Jesse wanted to investigate. He said he was worried that someone was getting hurt. And so I reluctantly agreed to search for the source of the scream. We thought the scream came from the other side of the small forest, but we were too afraid to walk through it, and so we walked around the edge of the tree line. That's when we saw a woman crouched over something up ahead. She was facing the other direction, and Jesse called out, "Ma'am, you okay?" She stood, but didn't turn to face us, and didn't respond either. Her hands looked bloody. We slowly moved towards her. "Ma'am, did you scream? You alright?" Jessie said, lightly poking her back. She turned to us and vomited up a liquid. It was dark brown and smelled like rusty metal. Even worse, there was something moving inside the vomit. Maggots, I think. We just froze. Neither of us had any clue what to do. She looked at us with her gaunt face and cloudy eyes, pushed me with a surprising force, and just ran into the forest. That's when we saw a rotten dead deer with the bite marks. She had been eating the rotten raw deer, and it seemed like she had been tearing it apart with her hands. How this was even possible, I have no clue. We just looked at each other and ran home. We were so scared that we didn't sleep at all that night. Whoever she was, we never saw her again. Never heard any reports of a crazy woman being found living in the forest, nothing. We still don't understand what we saw, but all I can say is I'm thankful she didn't seem to want to harm us. So apparently I am being tasked with doing the outro for you guys. God damn it, I'm not getting paid enough for this. But anyway, thank you guys for listening, and please do send in more stories, I guess. What do you usually say? Something like that. Okay, I'm just winging it, people. I don't know what I'm doing here. But yeah, hope you guys have an awesome day, and please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. We really do appreciate it. So yeah, that would be awesome. Like it would help, like, a lot. You know, we'd actually be able to afford food, so it'd be nice. Just saying. Anyway, stay safe, and you guys stay safe, and thank you again for watching this video.
Yes, my mom's mom and my mom had kids at the same time.
And your mom, yeah? Story number 4. My family has been haunted by what we think are the same spirits or entities for years. Nah, mate, that's called poverty and Escom. Story number 5. Okay. It's called The Most Terrifying Night of My Life and the Reason I'll Never Sneak Out Again. Okay. Clearly you live in South Africa. Jessie was staying in my room with me, which we loved. We had been the best of friends for as long as I can remember, and we still are.
I think this is the worst story I need to delete.
Oh, really?
If it just a little incest baby. Please just find a way to block her.
Incest baby. Christ, okay.
Please just block her somehow.
Alright.